Dead in Hip Hop album review. King Crooked and Joell Ortiz, Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse. Before we get into the review, man, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/Dead in Hip Hop. Check out all the perks and stuff like that, man. We really appreciate the support. Exclusive content as well, and of course, early access to videos. By now, if you're watching this video, you know Slaughterhouse is or was.
It definitely was.
King Crooked, went by Crooked Eye at the time. Joell Ortiz, Royce the 5'9", and Joe Budden. Joe Budden.
Joe Budden.
Could have been potentially one of the greatest rap groups out there. Definitely failed to live up to expectation when it came to their mainstream releases.
Damn.
But overall, you talk about top tier rappers, coming together to great music. And man, this album, they wanted to talk about what had happened.
What happened was...
That's what they should have called it.
Right. This is their second joint together since they released, what was that, year before last, Hard, that was on Mellow Music Group. Yeah.
I'll be honest, man. I was a little bit surprised, not by the rapping or anything like that. I was just surprised by how open and honest they were and how direct they were.
Yeah, you can't call something like this and half step and not just kind of put it out there, to be honest. Like, I would have been disappointed, and I think I mentioned this on our Is the Mic Still On podcast. Like, if you're gonna talk about it, talk about it.
They did.
What I'm saying? Like, for real.
I mean, you make a very good point, and I did not expect that. Not with it felt like as almost as detailed as they were. Basically calling people out on their shit. But nah, it was definitely a really, really interesting listen, and I enjoyed listening to it. At times it felt weird that you would create something like this with all of their personal business out. And I know that was part of the conversation that was had on Is the Mic Still On. At the time I didn't have any type of context. Like I haven't heard anything. Now after hearing this, like when I first listened to it, I won't say uncomfortable. I was like, oh shit, like for real? But nah, man, rapping wise, I mean shit, them motherfuckers, they were going the fuck off. But then just like fuck Glass House, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Backstage, ain't nobody mad. I'm like, wow, these guys, man, this was quite the experience, man.
It was kind of odd to listen to at times, and it was interesting to listen to at times. And I always thought it would be, because I didn't even know this was going on. I didn't even know this was a thing until y'all. I think B had brought it up on as a topic on Is the Mic Still On? And when he brought it up, I was like, oh, that could actually be interesting. And it was. It was. It was interesting. It was revealing. It was honest. Yeah, these dudes, they are clearly hurt by the situation, and to address that, I've always been for that. And as long as you're not like really putting somebody's business out there like that. Which I don't think they did per se, but I'm sure there's other stuff they could have said that would have been almost like dry snitching in a way. But if you're gonna do it, I feel like they did it right. It almost started out like they wanted it to work, and obviously they wanted it to work. Because I think the first song started off Vacancy started off as praise almost versus actually attacking. So it seemed like when they created this, they wanted it to go one way, then they was just like, nah, fuck that. Nah, this is the fall. This is the fall.
Yeah.
It was more about the fall than the rise.
Right, yeah, the rise was like the first track.
yeah, and that's it. I think Joell gave a couple praise through in the middle somewhere because he said something about the allegory. You know what I'm saying? Glad you got that recognition and stuff like that. So no, I mean it was some interesting stuff on this album, man. It actually was an enjoyable listen for me. I think it was very solid. I didn't like some of the hooks. I feel like they could have did without. And part of me wanted this to be slightly harder, like the beats. I wanted the beats to be a little grimier and a little harder to be called this type of album. I think this would have really brought this album home if it just felt a little darker. Other than that, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was good. Like you said, these dudes can fucking rap.
Yeah.
They gonna bring the bars, yeah, man. These dudes really brought the bars on this. Like I said, I think the only thing that was missing is that darkness that it needed. And some of the hooks could have been heavier,
Cricket had a lot. I mean, as usual, had a lot of good lines on this album. I'm not one to remember them like that, and I didn't write any down. But there were a lot of moments when he was rapping. I was like, damn, like this motherfucker doing his thing.
He kind of sounded like Royce on a couple of them to me. His voice, his cadence kind of sounded like Royce a little bit on some of his schemes.
I didn't like some of the slower songs that they had on here. I think Lil Mama was one. Was that one of the slower track?
Oh, I thought
Look Mama, you talking about Look Mama. Talking about Look Mama.
Look Mama. I thought you said Lil Mama. I'm like, Lil Mama.
I thought you said Lil Mama too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, where was she and why? Yeah, I think Look Mama was definitely misplaced. Like, shouldn't have been on this album.
But overall, man, I definitely enjoyed my overall experience here. What say you, B?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Ryan on the production, on the beats. I feel like you look at the album cover, I was definitely expecting a darker vibe as far as from the production. So yeah, that was kind of a letdown. And I mean, with the title being it, I really wasn't. I mean, I wasn't looking forward or like really just like hearing the album about this whole drama stuff. But I mean, of course they're gonna rap about it about 80% on this album, because I like their last album that they did on Mellow a lot better, because it's just what I wanted from them, which we still kind of got there. We still got great rhyming. I'm not saying the rhyming on here was subpar or anything like that. It's just more sort of content. It's just like, okay, here we go, another damn song about this. It wouldn't have been as bad if it was like maybe, how many tracks is on here? 15. If it was like maybe 3 or 4 that like addressed the situation. I feel like damn near, like I said, 80% of this album is like addressing it. It's just like, okay, how many damn songs we need about this whole situation? That's my gripe. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's rhyming is cool. I don't I mean, the rhyming, because like I said, what they rapping about, I mean, it's just kind of it's just like, okay, but like, Almighty is dope. I like Smoke because they kind of took the cadence from Once Again Is On by Benny Siegel and Jay-Z. That's why you heard that Benny Siegel talk in the beginning.
That's the
same sample. That's
wow.
It was flipped different, but it's the same sample that was used on Once Again Is On.
And Heatmakers was on this project, right? As producer.
They was exec producer, but they only produced one track.
Oh, okay.
And then Still in My Feelings, that was actually a joint that was off of Joell Ortiz's solo album. It was just continued because when Joell Ortiz verse ended on In My Feelings, Cricket didn't finish that second part. I was listening. I'm like, I heard this before, and then I was like, oh shit, this is it was from I'm like, okay. So overall, man, I mean, I don't know if this is gonna be something I'm just gonna go back and return to. I mean, it's cool. It's all right. I feel like they just spent too much time. I mean, if that was they focus, then well be it. I agree with you, right? If you're gonna lay it out there, lay it out there. We rather had this than had Twitter fingers. You know what I'm saying, for 5 days or whatever. So if they want to put it out in the music, make this 4. Give me about 4 of you pouring your heart and everything, and give me the hard shit, the rest of the shit. But that's me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with B. The rapping was cool. I don't think I was as impressed by the rapping as you guys were. My thing is, I think King Crooked is amazing. I think Joell is amazing as a rapper. I've heard better from both of them than what I heard on here. I already wasn't super interested in this topic, but some of this stuff I just didn't feel like I needed to be hearing. Coastin', it felt uncomfortable to listen to it, because it was just like, I just don't feel like we need to know all this. I don't feel like it's any of our business. I mean, it is now because they fucking said it on an album.
Right.
But prior to this, I just didn't feel like any of this was our business. So the main thing that I agree with is Rod with the beats. I thought the beats were cool, but they weren't, for me, Slaughterhouse cool. Like, I liked that first album, Slaughterhouse. I didn't really care much for the Shady Records Slaughterhouse. Yeah. This sounded like a continuation of the Shady Records Slaughterhouse. So listening to this, most of the beats were a little like mid-paced. They were soulful. And I just didn't hear any hard bars. Like, I think the hardest bar, and I don't remember what song it was, but Cricket said something about the sky crying because the flow is God tier. I was like, that's a hard ass bar. But most of this, I didn't hear hard bars because they were just talking about what happened with Slaughterhouse.
Right.
I knew that's what we were gonna get on this whole project. So I wasn't complaining that it was too many songs about that. It's just a matter of, by the third song, I didn't care anymore. I was just like, all right. Because my thing is this, right? I didn't walk away from this album with any new knowledge. I didn't walk away from this album knowing something that happened that was so important to what happened with Slaughterhouse. As a fan, when Joe Budden retired, I said, okay, well, I guess Slaughterhouse is done.
Yeah.
And it turns out that that's what happened, you know?
But what about when they're talking about how they tried to get it back together and all the stuff that was the inner workings
how he
trying to get it back?
How he brought the deal to him and stuff.
Yeah.
But if Budden already retired, then of course he's not going to do it.
Right. Joe didn't do it, and Royce didn't want to do a 3-man group.
That part I
Did
didn't
you
know,
know
but I
that?
didn't
Yeah,
care.
see,
I didn't. Did you care?
I think at the end of one of the songs, let me ask you a real question, any real nigga question or something like that.
Did you stop your friend from getting money?
Yeah, or stop you eating. If you saw your friend hungry, would you
consider him your brother?
Consider your brother. And I was just like, oh, that's, yeah. Like, I thought that was not deep, but like, I thought that was interesting. Like, you know, like, because I think on the outside looking in, we was like, man, these dudes are like Voltron, like they said. So to know that, you know, once the show is done, they just kind of all go their separate ways. I was just like, that's interesting. Like, I wouldn't have thought that.
I would.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not like I hang out with y'all during the week.
Yeah, but we still have interactions throughout the week, though. Like, as far as like, well,
It's mostly about
I guess he did say that, like, email, like text and stuff. But it's not like, oh, happy holidays. It's more like on some personal shit. Like, I hit you about personal shit.
Yeah, sure.
And like,
but,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, so
yeah.
It made it seem like it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's interesting.
And I wasn't saying that to say that I don't consider y'all friends. I just mean, I don't think I ever really looked at them like they were super tight for some reason. It always just felt like these were 4 rappers that all had a very similar story, so they created a group. And I don't know that any of them have ever said that they were friends prior to making that first album. I never really had it in my head that they were just like these super tight buddies.
They met in the industry. It's not like on some the lock situation.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like they was already.
Or like Odd Future or something.
Yeah,
But so would you be surprised if you heard like, and I guess it's more of a question for you, Mike. Would you be surprised if like you heard LP and Killer Mike don't really hang out?
Yes, but the reason being because they say all the time that they hang out, they love each other, and they're brothers. So I would be surprised if they didn't hang out. I would be surprised if Killer Mike and Big Boy didn't actually hang out. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be that surprised. Well, no, I wouldn't be that surprised if Griselda and Derringer didn't hang out that much. Meaning Conway, Benny, and Westside. I wouldn't be that surprised if they didn't always hang out with Derringer. They probably do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I mean, they don't talk about it like that. Killer Mike and LP talk like they are best friends. Listening to this, when it was over, I was just like, all right, this has absolutely no replay value for me. I would much rather go back to their Mellow Music Group album, which I said when we were talking about on Is the Mic. I was just like, the album was great.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I'm interested in hearing them just talk about Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
I would disagree if I walked away from this being like, wow, so that's the detail that was missing, and that's the detail that was missing, and oh shit, that happened? But I didn't get that.
Yeah, I don't think this was intended to have a lot of replay value. Personally, I think they just wanted to.
They just wanted to get it off,
like get it off their chest, and be done with it. I think
that's
they
how I
actually
felt.
Say that. I think they actually say that.
And that's how I felt walking. Well, after I finished,
it's like this is the bouquet. This is the bouquet that the fans deserve, or whatever.
They just wanted to get this off.
I was just like, okay.
I didn't go into this thinking like, oh man, this is about to be a quality replay value type of album. It's like they just want to say some shit.
Get some off their chest.
Yeah, and that's it.
I really don't think that was their purpose, to just make a one and done. But if that is your purpose, then what's the point of making an album? If you're making a one and done and you don't expect anyone to go back to it ever, what's the point of making an album?
I'm gonna say ever, but
you may as well. I don't think it's had any replay value. I'm not returning to this because I already heard their side of the story, and the rapping wasn't mind blowing.
Yep.
So my thing is, if this sounds like new school drama type whatever, I would have been just fine if they just did a conversation video and just talked about what happened and then called it a day.
But they're rappers though.
I understand that, but this didn't give me the feeling of a Crooked Eye and Joell album. Like, these guys are top tier rappers, both of them still. So when I hear that they're doing something like this, I'm expecting what we got with Mellow Music, which is a bar fest.
Yes.
I'm not expecting like, oh yeah, and he did this, and then I said this, and then he did this. It just, and I hate to sound so negative, it just felt messy. I don't know, y'all. I mean, I really don't want to be super negative. I just didn't This
not for you.
This didn't do it for me.
Yeah, and that's understandably so. And I'm sure they probably knew it was going to be some people that this is just going to do it for. They don't want to hear all about this, but you know.
So why make it?
Because there are people like Ken and I that did get some type of entertainment and enjoyment out of it. I thought it was interesting, and like I said, they're rappers, so I don't want to see them talk about it in spaces on Twitter or tweeting about it, or Instagram. I don't even think I want to see a conversation like that either. I'd rather hear the bars, honestly. So I thought that was interesting too. You didn't think it was interesting how Cricket was saying that he really wanted to enter into that whole Lupe thing, but then when he thought about it, he was just like, nah, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was interesting because he didn't really have anything to do with it, but he's gonna jump in because that's his boy.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, but at the end of the day, I feel like they were fairly neutral with Royce. They both picked him up, and they were just like, but he didn't want to do X, Y, and Z, so that's fine.
You can tell the tension towards Joe Budden was a little more,
it was a bit different with Joe Budden. It seemed like they had animosity with Joe Budden.
Yeah.
My thing is, like you were saying, if you're gonna talk about it, fine. If you got animosity, fucking bar this dude to death. Like, make a fucking diss song. If you're gonna do this shit, do it. But just having whatever this is, 15, 16, 17, 18 songs where it's just like, here's this Slaughterhouse story, but we're not giving you actual details into what happened.
It's funny you say that because Royce, he wanted them to go harder at him.
Oh, really?
He was like, he said, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted them to go harder.
Was that on like Instagram or something?
Huh?
Was that on Instagram or something?
Yeah, I think he's on Instagram or Twitter or something. I don't know. But he was like, I wanted them to go harder.
See, so I watched the video that he did with Joe Budden on their podcast, on his podcast. I watched that, and hearing what Joe Budden and Royce were saying, I expected this to be just a whole bunch of pissed off vitriol, just So when I turned it on, I was like, well, nothing is that bad.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything bad about Royce, really. They just kind of went at Joe Budden with some light touches, but I don't really get the point.
I mean, you still want to be respectful, I guess, to a certain extent. I mean, because like you can respectfully disagree with somebody, you can respectfully like go at somebody.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I respected about the album, that they still got stuff off their chest, but I think in a somewhat respectful way, if you can say respect. They weren't like calling them like out their names or nothing like that.
I'd rather have that, to be honest, at this point.
See, I wouldn't want that.
Well, because I mean, why do I want a respectful conversation on a rap album? Like, if you're gonna do a respectful conversation, then have a respectful conversation with each other.
I think it just shows more so the disappointment and the hurt in what didn't happen and what they thought was gonna happen versus just like somebody that sounds mad and bitter.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say I would rather the respect angle than a mad and bitter angle.
But do we need to hear that?
I didn't mind it, and I said I didn't, and I stand by. I didn't mind it when I heard about it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're rappers. You know what I'm saying? That's the way they get off. They may not be that great at speaking things out or talking things out.
No, they're very eloquent, both of them.
Yeah, it's more so like a kind of get off, like because conversations can get heated, right? When you go, you know, it's a conversation, so. That you get, the other person has an opportunity to respond.
Sure.
Versus me just getting out what I want to get out.
Sure.
So that's what I mean.
No, I hear what you're saying, because I mean, I can see that going bad because Joe Budden's going to start yelling immediately.
Hell yeah.
Me and Joe Budden are very much alike in that respect, because we immediately start yelling when we disagree with shit. Real quick, just to run through a couple things. Yeah, Vacancy, I thought was cool. I didn't care for the hook. I think you said that the hooks weren't great, and I agree. The hooks weren't great, but Vacancy I thought was cool. Ain't Nobody Mad was the only song on here that I think just did not work for me because I didn't really care for Joel's flow like that. Even on Coastin', which I said I felt weird listening to, but Backstage, Floodwaters, Smoke, I mean, the rapping was cool. But I think because they were limited to this topic, the rapping wasn't great. And that's my problem. If you're trying to make us feel something about why this group broke up, remind us why we wanted the group to stay together. And I don't think I really got that with this project. I felt that with, I keep forgetting, what was the album with on Mellow Music?
Hard. It's called Hard.
Hard, yeah. With that, I was like, damn, man, I miss these guys, man. Like, these motherfuckers make a great team.
Yep.
And anytime you'd hear them featuring on each other's shit, when you heard them on the Bad Meets Evil shit, they were fucking it just sounded great.
Yeah.
And all of that Shady 2.0 stuff that they were doing, it was great. But this, I was just like, I hate to be like that because I really love those guys.
I think you
but
summed this album up perfectly, Mike. Yeah, I think that's why. I think the fact that they had to stay in the confines of the content and the subject of this album is why I was like, damn, it's where's the bar fest that we got from the last album?
And because, like Rod said, they want to be respectful.
Respectful, yeah.
Because Crooked Eye, I don't know that I want to hear respectful Crooked Eye.
Me neither.
When Crooked Eye gets busy and is like, he sounds pissed off and nasty, that's what I want to hear.
Yep.
But he's not going to do that because he still loves Joe Budden.
Yeah.
He still loves Royce. So he's going to keep it at that respectful level. But I don't know, man. We're not going to get back to the hand clapping with that type of shit.
Nah,
we're just going to get like, okay, this is why I'm upset with you.
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed in this, to be totally honest. It's not whack or nothing, though. But I'm not going to return to this.
Yeah.
I personally felt, as men and as friends, I would have rather see them just hash this out versus I'm going to go make this secret rap project and surprise you with it. Because I would be pissed off if one of my friends did that shit to me. Like, if you had an issue with me when you were telling B and not letting me know, I'd be like, well, that's fucked up. Why didn't you just tell me that you had a problem with me calling you Roderick? Why wouldn't you just tell me that?
Well, it sounds like they did know.
It did not sound like that they knew at all to me. When they had that conversation with Joell, it didn't sound like they knew that there was this type of animosity.
Yeah.
It sounded like they knew that they might be a little disappointed, but they didn't know that it was this type of energy.
To this extent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the thing. I was disappointed because I really wish they would have just had a conversation with each other.
Yeah, I'm going solely based on the music. I hadn't seen any interviews or any conversations back and forth. I'm just going based solely off of this.
My favorite tracks are, let me get Vacancy, Backstage, Smoke, Almighty, and Brothers Keeper 2, I guess.
I thought Vacancy was cool. Backstage was interesting. Brothers Keeper 2, Almighty was dope. And I think I like Smoke too. Yeah.
Give me Smoke, Almighty, Backstage, Brothers Keepers 2, and Fuck Glass House.
I'm going Vacancy, Fuck Glass House, Almighty, and Smoke.
King Cricket or Joell, if you're watching, I enjoyed this listen, and people on Is the Mic and Frames probably know this, but I tend to like messy stuff, but I will say that at times this was definitely uncomfortable listening to, because a lot of it felt somewhat personal and private. While there were elements on here that I liked, there were other elements where I was like, I don't know if that's like my business. But nevertheless, in terms of just rapping, and I do kind of agree with Rod on the beats. I didn't even really think about that. I was so into like the content or whatever, I didn't even think about the production that much. But yeah, I thought the beats were okay, but I enjoyed the rapping, and I enjoyed how you guys told the story. Replay value, I don't know if there's much, but overall, really solid project. And yeah, and that's it. Maybe now that this is over, you guys get back to doing other projects together now that this story is told and hopefully done.
King Crooked, Joell Ortiz. Yeah, I didn't have an issue with this. I'm an advocate of, getting stuff off your chest, you know what I'm saying? Speaking out on things. I guess Mike has a point as going straight to the source to speak out, but I know how that could be, conversations can go. So I understand being artists, being rappers, that this is the way you wanted to get that out. Be like, not water under the bridge, but something that you just kind of leave where it is, and you said your piece, and that's what it is. So that's how I felt this album was, man. I've already said, how I felt it could have been a little bit better for as like beats and hooks and stuff like that. I just kind of wanted it to be a little harder. Shout out to y'all for getting together, putting this together. You obviously put forth a valued effort to approach this topic. So I think it was pretty good for what you guys did.
If y'all watching King Crooked and Joell Ortiz, whenever I listen to y'all, I'm gonna still go back to the Hard album off of Mellow Music Group. I appreciate you guys wanting to be, honest about the situation and, put it out on wax. But, this is something I probably won't, go back and listen to. Like, I just listen to Hard or listen to either y'all solo stuff that you guys create, because you guys are phenomenal MCs, not taking that away. Like I mentioned before, I didn't expect this to be 3 or 4 songs. I'd have been cool with that. You know what I'm saying? The rest would have been show that supreme lyricism that you guys always done. But yeah, I might have to pass on this one. I just listen to Hard whenever, or your solo stuff whenever I want in the mood for King Cricket and Joell.
Joell Ortiz and King Crooked. Once again, I think you guys are top tier lyricists. This album, for me personally, didn't really do it for me. I've heard better rapping from both of you. I definitely stick with the idea that maybe constraining yourselves to this topic may have pulled away from the barability of this. But I'm pretty sure both of you guys are on record of saying that you like when people are honest about y'all's music. So I'm being totally honest. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I didn't really love this. And like I said earlier, if this was not out in the public this much, I would not be inclined to speak on it because it would not be any of my business. But since it's here and we're listening to it and it's a public project, I just hope that you guys can have some sort of conversation. Because it seems like there's still a lot of love there, even if there's animosity as well. So hopefully you guys straighten this out. But as far as this project, I can't see myself returning to it. I'll definitely go back to Hard. I still listen to Pig Face Weapon Waste on a regular basis. But yeah, this one, not so much. Other people seem to enjoy it. If I'm in the minority, great. So it is what it is.
Today we here talking about our favorite artist's worst album. There was a moment in time on this project that should have been iconic.
And I think a lot of people actually really enjoy that album. Just for me personally, it was just a little too commercial for me.
And you know, this was back when you brought albums, so you like, you know, you try to psych yourself like, oh, this is a good album. You know, I spent my $15.99. It was worth it. But
I feel like my favorite list goes in people's opposite order.
It was at that point I was like, all right, he done. He ain't got it no more.